Alright, today's college students are overwhelmed by the amount of stress and pressure that they have to face between work and school. College tuition continues to rise. There never seems to be enough time. And worst of all, the slow economy makes it difficult to find jobs upon graduation. All this stress can potentially lead to physical and mental health problems. And according to American College Counseling Association, a 2012 study found that 37.4% of college students seeking help have severe psychological problems, up from 16% from the year 2000. And of the 228 counselors surveyed, more than 3 out of 4 reported an increase in the crisis in the past 5 years, requiring immediate response. And 42% noted on an increase in self-injury, 24% have seen an increase in eating disorders. And this is just an example of potentially dangerous effects of stress on your well-being. I've been researching about this topic for many days because I'm also a student and I tend to get stressed out a lot. And therefore I realized that I must learn about the health risks of stress. I'm sure that many of you can relate to this topic because we are all college students and we all must deal with stress. Today I will be demonstrating what stress is, what happens to your body when you are stressed, as well as the physical and chemical reactions that from your body as a result of stress. First of all, I'd like to clarify what stress is. Everyone is affected by stress. All creatures develop and participate in stress responses. And stress is often synonymous with change and is an adaptation of evolution. It stimulates a fight or flight reaction. And senses are used to perceive threats. For example, this zebra is very stressed out because it's against the lion. So this is just an example from way back in evolution. Stress is a perceived threat to our mind, body, spirit, and emotion. It can also exacerbate the ability to cope with problems, and you can also have a feeling of absence of inner peace. And these are some of the effects of stress that it has on your body. For example, headaches, and muscular twitches, and for your mind, behavior, emotions. Now that you know exactly what stress is, let's discuss what happens to your body when you are stressed. Stress reactions can have negative impacts on your body. When you're stressed, our brain releases hormones that travel through our adrenal glands, and the two stress hormones that act upon your entire body releases adrenaline, and your heart pounds and supply your muscles with blood. And also, your lung tubes dilate to bring more oxygen, and your brain becomes more clear. And these are some of the effects of stress hormones, such as heart rate increase, your pupils dilating, as I mentioned, and your increase in the necessity of oxygen. And now that you know what happens to your body when you're stressed, I'm going to illustrate the chemical and physical reactions it can have on your body. The body's nervous and endocrine system is affected as well. reactions of stress to your body. There will be widening of arteries, blood coagulation, metabolic processes, and muscular strength and perspiration is also affected. And there is also a decrease of time to form blood clots, gastric movements, and abdominal blood flow. And as for the chemical reactions that it can have on your body, cortisol has been linked to stress response, and it's a hormone that functions for cellular metabolism and movement. Chronic stress can also lead to large amounts of cortisol, and eventually it metabolizes white blood cells, and is also associated with cholesterol in the blood, leading to artery plaque. And according to WebMD, an American corporation that provides health information, it can lead to coronary heart disease, which is the #1 cause of death in the United States. Now that you understand the physical and chemical reactions that stress can have on your body, it is important to learn to manage your stress. And some of the ways you can manage stress is natural therapy, meditation, and mental imagery. And also, these are a lot of things you can help to alleviate your stress. Today I have illustrated what stress is, what happens to your body when it is under stress, and its physical and chemical reactions to your body. Because we as college students are under a significant amount of stress on a daily basis, we must be aware of the health dangers it can have on the body.
So Tank, share your thoughts, please.
The topic was pretty good. I hope you relate to it. You did transition in the slow every now and then, but you know your slides was good and entertaining. That pretty much went with your transition. You did read a lot from your notes, and look back at your slide. The board a couple times. But, you know, the topic was pretty good, and yeah, good job.
All right, well, I feel a little bit like this is a good illustration of one of the things that I was trying to warn people about. Not that it was a bad speech, because I think that there's a lot of stuff in the speech that's good. But remember I said I didn't want you to become the narrator of the slideshow? We got too many slides here. You've just got a lot of stuff that you're doing. And some of them are up there for barely 3 seconds to even notice. You know, you put them up. I know sometimes there's a temptation to go along with something because it's a great visual, it's an interesting idea, it's a funny image, but it doesn't necessarily help explain anything, and it becomes a little bit of a distraction at times. And for instance, in that first section, there were 2 slides that went by. I barely saw either of them, and neither of them was ever really explained. When you were talking about the effects on the body later on, you mentioned one or two things on that list, and there were several other things that were drawing my attention, and I know that they never become a subject of discussion because you're moving on to the next slide there. So I think the visuals, you've got a lot of stuff. You need to make some choices. You need to figure out which things are the most important things for me to include, because you need to spend a little bit of time on all of those things that are important, instead of just running on with the next thing. I think there's a problem with the organization as a consequence, because there are so many visuals. It feels constantly like you are skipping to the next thing before we've even gotten an explanation of what it was that you were talking about at this particular point. I heard early reference to sources in the introduction, and then later on I heard one reference to WebMD, and then the rest of the speech, it felt like, I don't know if you were just referring back to things that you had talked about earlier, and you found the information in the same location and you just haven't remembered to acknowledge it, or if there are a variety of sources that have not been explained. I know you're not making stuff up, at least I don't believe that you're making stuff up, but there's a lot of stuff that gets presented as if it is a fact or true, and it's not discussed. There's no explanation, there's no proof being offered, and whenever you do something like that without giving us a source, I think that's problematic. You've got a low-key delivery. Your eye contact is also a little bit low, but your voice is easy to hear. I think you need to be a little bit more engaged with the audience, and that'll enhance your credibility too. All right, thank you.